these corporations rule the world by hiring people to be lobbyists that work in government because they know government. So we'll talk a little bit about that. Greenwashing. Policies are made to look environmentally sustainable, usually by blaming the individual consumer so that the corporations are off the hook. Executive compensation is crazy. Lee Raymond got $70 million compensation in his final year as CEO of ExxonMobil. Unbelievable. So corporation originally meant a corpus, a group of people authorized by law to act as a single entity. And before the 1800s, corporations served a public good. You remember that Boston Tea Party you learned about in school? Protest, right? Well, it was actually a protest against the East India Company. That's the part they don't tell you. And they had a monopoly on the tea market. So that was rebellion against corporate rule of the world. And to get more power after the Civil War, there was an amendment passed, the 14th Amendment, right? Slaves could be free and granted certain rights. But in 1886, right? Oh my gosh, what happened to that 14th Amendment? The case of Santa Clara County and Southern Pacific Railroad gave corporations protections under the 14th Amendment, declaring corporations were people. Oh my God, corporations, that was a big mistake, right? And a whole lot of other legislations happening. And then the Fourth Amendment, in 1906, corporations could break the law, but you can't imprison people of the corporations like shareholders. Then 1974, the Supreme Court endorsed an amendment to the Campaign Act, limited spending by individual candidates, and that sounded pretty good. But then James Buckley, a Republican in New York, sued and saying the law violated the First Amendment rights. And so the Supreme Court authorized in 1978 corporations to pay for ads as a free speech. So now corporations had free speech. They're individuals, free speech. 2010, a big shift happened. Citizens United versus the FCC declared the government can't limit a corporations from political donations. Supreme Court agreed, and the notion of money is free speech was born. And, individuals can only contribute a little bit of money, but corporations can contribute as much money as they want. That's the way the law worked after 2010. Hobby Lobby comes along in 2014. They bring things to the court and to the Supreme Court, and the corporation can now assert religious rights of the owners. So things have gotten really out of hand. So ExxonMobil spent $200 million lobbying, and 22 of the 29 lobbyists had worked for government, and that's why we call it the revolving door phenomenon. And corporations have the right to litigate against citizens, contract violations, etc. So it's really the free speech of the individual that's being throttled here. Now, what can corporation storytelling do about this? Conversational storytelling specifically, that corporations rule the world. Well, we can understand how corporations are using storytelling against the environment, against social movements, against people who are without a voice. So it's now normalized and embedded in corporate values and the social fabric as a kind of a business storytelling that doesn't get enough attention. And that's why on January 10th, I'm inviting you all to sign up for free. You can go to csistory.com. And maybe there's a kind of storytelling we can do, maybe a kind of to reclaim the landscapes of storytelling from corporate control You know, it shouldn't all be about Harvard Business Review or what Forbes magazine is telling us about how to use, leaders can use stories. You know, we need to have people that are part of the superorganism, part with all of the species, and start to talk about and tell stories about, and even have conversations with other species, like my wife, Grace Ann Rosile. She'll be presenting about her work with horses, interspecies communication. And she learns about the superorganism of the world that way.